advancing through life while nourishing our nature, extending our prosperity to others, having ethical and meaningful work of value, having delight in cherishing our prosperity and field of work, having celebrations of the sacred in our life and work, working above the shades of ego, maintaining societal balance, having cooperation between the fields and competition within the fields, and having all-inclusive, sustainable prosperity. Now, my co-author and my co-author is named Rukmini Devi Dasi, aka Dr. Ruchira Datta. She and I came up with this little mnemonic, this little acronym, so that you have, and I'm so proud of this thing that we put together. This was not easy, folks. So we have the word career dharma, and all of the R's are for the 4 areas, and then the rest lines up with the principles. I don't expect you to remember that today. Ta-da. All right, so we're going to look at each of these in turn. Again, this is an overview. It's a skimming. It's a fast run through. If you are interested, I have on my YouTube channel 4 classes in depth on this topic. And we will be coming out with a course. All right, so again, the first area was myself, identifying my prosperity type and my career field. Remember, that was the beginning part of career dharma. And in this section, there's 2 principles. So we're going to look first at the first one, connecting our nature with our livelihood. Are you ready? Everybody's ready? Okay, here we go. Have you ever heard of cash-rich people who live a poor life? Have you ever, anybody know of a cash-rich person that has an impoverished life? Anybody? Some of you never read the news. Right? There's a lot. Oh, yeah, look, any headline news any day, and you're going to find stories of people with lots of cash whose lives are impoverished. Who here knows any people who are cash poor but lead a rich life? Anybody? Someone who's cash poor and leads a rich life? All right. All right, folks, cash is important. Okay, I need some cash. You need some cash. Even the Amish have some cash business. It's not that we don't need any cash, but there is not a one-to-one equivalent between how much cash we have and how prosperous we are. Now, the Vedas look at prosperity in 6 kinds. Now, all of us would like to have all these kinds of prosperity, but some of these are more important to us than others. There's probably 2 or 3 of these types of prosperity that if we're not getting that from our livelihood, we're going to feel impoverished. Now, we're looking again at what we get from our livelihood, what we get from our career. Some of us, our career gives us Aishvarya. This is leadership. This is a kind of prosperity. When I'm guiding and directing others, I have other people working under my authority. The word Aishvarya comes from the Sanskrit word Ishwar. Other people don't like Aishvarya. They don't want to be in charge of anybody. To them, that's a burden. So for some people, that's a prosperity. For some people, it's not. Then again, some of us have work where in order to do our work, we have to constantly learn. Some of us have our means of livelihood. We're forced to. We have to keep studying. We have to keep researching. We have to keep learning, or we can't do our job. And for some people, they want that. I want a job that's going to push me to keep learning things. And other people like, I want to learn what I have to do for my work, and that's it. I don't want to have to keep learning. Why should I want to keep learning things over and over? Then there's the prosperity of virya. Virya is strength and health. So I hope she won't mind, because I always use you as an example for this. So my daughter's work is she's a classical Indian dance teacher, and she can't do her work without her work giving her health. You understand? She has to dance, and it's intense dancing. It makes her strong. It makes her healthy. My work isn't like that. I sit at a computer. You follow? So some of us have a livelihood where the livelihood itself brings us strength and health. And for some of us, that's really important. It's like, I want my work to provide me with strength and health. And for others, it's like, I'll just take a walk in the park. Then there's the opulence of Shri. This could be charismatic leadership, which is a little different from organizational leadership. But this is also beauty. It may be visual beauty. It may be auditory beauty. It may be natural beauty. Some of us really want a job that fills our life with beauty. Now, keep in mind for all these, this is what is happening for ourselves. Our work may provide beauty for others, but not for ourselves. And in our career drama book, we also look at what we're providing for others. But right now we're looking at what kind of prosperity do I really want my work to provide for me? So some of us really want work that adds beauty to our lives. For some of us, we really don't care. Yasha. Yasha is actually a person who's the child of Dharma and Kirti. Yasha means that people talk about you because you've done good things. Sometimes we talk about people for whatever. But to be talked about because we've done something meritorious. Yasha implies having a community. So a lot of us, we want a work, we want a livelihood that involves being part of some kind of community that appreciates us. Now, everybody likes some appreciation here and there, but there are people who are happy to be loners. They just work in an office, nobody knows their name, they don't do anything, it doesn't matter to them whether or not they get yasha from their work. For other people, it's essential for a rich life. Then there's vairagya, perhaps the most interesting of the different types of prosperity. This is the prosperity of freedom, of simplicity. Maybe you can work at your own schedule. You can live a minimalist lifestyle. You can do a lot of travel. Some people want an occupation that brings them vairagya. For other people, they're like, no, I don't want that. I want a strict schedule, and I want to make sure I have a lot of security. So I have a good friend who worked for quite a long time as a traveling musician, and he wrote songs about philosophy. His work brought him vairagya because he was always traveling. It brought him gyan because he was always studying philosophy, and it brought him shri because he was always creating music and being around musicians. Now, most of us have 2 or 3 of these that are really important to us. As again, I'm sure all of us would like all of these to some extent, but there's probably going to be 2 or 3 that are really important to us in our work. All right, we've looked at our prosperity type briefly. Now we're going to look at our field. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna's created 4 fields of work. Now, I'm sure that many of you know these by the Sanskrit terms, but we're not going to use those because they probably come with a lot of baggage. So we're going to forget that we know them, and we're going to learn some new terminology. Is that all right with everybody? At least for right now. When you go out of here, you can say whatever you want. But right here, we're just going to use some new terminology, helps open up our thoughts. So Krishna's created divisions. He's taken all the hundreds of thousands of possible careers, and he's divided them into 4 categories. The field of artistry, the field of ideas, the field of resources, and the field of government. And Rukmini and I spent a lot of time and a lot of care and a lot of thought and a lot of research. Why? Why do the Vedic scriptures, why does the wisdom literature of the Vedas, why does God take all the possible things you could do for a livelihood and divide them into these 4 fields? And the reason that we came to is that the dharma and the value of these fields are unique to each of them and in contradiction to the others. Now, we can have 2 or 3 or 4 prosperity types that we really need, but my dear friends, we will only have 1 field. I get asked this question, can I be in 2? No. Only 1. And the reason is that the values of these fields are contradictory. What's dharma in one field becomes adharma in another field. Now, you might be in one field that particularly assists another field. You might be in the field of ideas really helping people in government. You might be in the field of government particularly helping people in resources. You might be in the field of artistry helping people in any of the other three fields. You might be assisting someone in those fields. So you might have some inclination towards something in that field where you assist, but everyone is going to have one field. Now, again, we're going to go through this quickly. Okay, we're going to look at the field of artistry. These are the people who make everything work. They provide all the functionality, all the support in society, and all the beauty of society. The field of artistry has clearly defined standards for excellence and clearly defined standards for how to achieve excellence. It's the most concrete and least abstract of the four fields. Fine arts, service careers, honing a craft, liking to move in the world in a way that people find useful or inspiring. Now, the main questions that people ask about their work in this field to know whether or not it's successful is, did I add beauty and support to society? Now, just try this. Go to somebody who works in a field of artistry and say to them, thank you for making the world more beautiful, or thank you for making the world work better. And they'll light up just, like a sun. That's the main question these people feel, to say, am I successful in my work? Was it beautiful? Was it supportive? Let's look at the field of resources. In this field, people want to expand wealth and profit. They're absorbed with how to use resources effectively and efficiently and with the distribution of products. Now, there's more abstraction in this field, like what makes a good person in this field and what makes a successful person in this field can vary considerably from one culture to another or even within a culture. These are the only people who generate resources. Everyone else can change them, move them around, redistribute them. These are the only people who generate it. Without them, there's no food, there's no clothing, there's no medicines, there's no nothing. And the Bhagavatam says these people are always thirsty. Now, that doesn't mean that they're always literally drinking water. It means they always want to expand. So I have a very good friend who's in this field, and he sold his business, and he said, now I could retire at 30. I said, well, why don't you retire at 30? He said, I don't want to retire at 30. He said, I purposely bought an expensive house and an expensive car so I'd have to go out and make more money. And I'm like, what? And then after a while, he went into business for himself, and he said, now I can work 3 days a week and make more money than I was making for someone else working 5 days a week. I said, great, then you can do something else with your extra 2 days. Write a book or something. It's like, why? He said, I want to work 5 days a week and make even more money. Constantly wanting to expand. Now, the main questions these people ask for the success of their work is, am I creating wealth that's sustainable and regenerative? Now, that doesn't just mean in harmony with nature. In other words, you want to put enough profit back into your work that your work is going to go on. This is a very important point, and keep this in mind. These people are profit-minded, and they have to be profit-minded. Otherwise, their work is not sustainable. If you don't make a profit, what's going to happen to your business? Right? In order for it to regenerate and be sustainable, and in order for you to feed the world, you have to be making a profit. And you have to be thinking about taking care of people. All right, let's look now at the field of government. Now, because we're social animals, as soon as we get a little bit big, we need some way of taking care of people, and we need some way of defending people, right? Now, a big difference between the field of government and the field of resources is people in this field are concerned with everybody's interests, whereas in resources, they're concerned with a particular flow, a particular subset of people, or a particular subset of interest. Now, the field of government does not just mean political governments. It can also mean what we call NGOs, non-governmental organizations that do the work of government, that make sure people have food and water and education and roads and things like that. It can also mean a really small government that you're the landlord of an apartment building. And those are your citizens that you take care of and you collect rent money instead of taxes. But it's the same kind of thing. Now, these people are the arms of society. And of course, in English, the word arms also means weapons, right? And these people are the weapons people. These are military people, police, and so forth. But arms are not just for weapons. Arms are also for care. These are like the big parents of society. They take care of everybody. But on a big scale, we're not talking about like someone who works in a hospice caring for a patient. We're talking about people who are just, they're making sure that everybody is taken care of. They're making sure that people have what they need. Now, the main questions these people ask about their work to know whether or not their work is successful is it honorable and just? They want their work to add to the honor and justice and morals and ethics of society. That's what's driving them. All right, then there's the field of ideas. These are the people that provide wisdom, guidance, truth, and education to society, research, study, counseling, therapy, religious leaders. Now, these people may teach through words. They may also teach through mathematics. And interestingly enough, they may also teach through the fine arts. If people use music, painting, sculpture, dance, drama to teach wisdom, they're in the field of ideas. If they use music, painting, sculpture, dance, drama to make the world more beautiful, they're in the field of artistry. Do you follow? So someone's singing songs, about higher principles of life, they're in the field of ideas. If they're just singing songs, I love my baby, she left me, when is she coming back? They're in the field of artistry. You follow? Yes? The main questions these people ask to know whether or not their work is successful is, have I added to the truth and wisdom of the world? So in the field of artistry, they're asking, have I made the world more beautiful and functional? Have I been supportive and beautiful? In the field of resources, they're acting, have I created sustainable, regenerative wealth? In the field of government, people are asking, have I created honor and justice and morals and ethics in society? And in the field of ideas, people are asking, have I generated truth and wisdom? Now, Krishna gives a warning. He says, don't go into someone else's field, even if you think you can do that work properly. He said it's very dangerous to go on someone else's path. Dangerous because it means we have to pretend we are something that we are not. And even actors can't do that all the time. It's exhausting. Our real nature will manifest anyway. Yes? And Krishna says that if we do someone else's work, our work becomes bhayavaha. It becomes a vehicle of fear. Now, my dear friends, please listen very closely, especially those of you who are quite familiar with Krishna conscious philosophy. You know that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks in depth about doing detached work for his benefit, yes? Have you ever thought about why he talks equally much about doing detached work for his glory and doing the work of your own nature? That what's the connection between those? When we're doing the work of our own nature, that work is our dharma. It's an expression of ourselves. Actually, Srila Prabhupada makes a statement that desiring what is natural is not a desire. He said, like, if you say, I want to eat, nobody will criticize you. Want to eat? What's wrong with you? So wanting to be ourselves is not a desire. It's not considered material desire. I want to be who I am. And when we're working with who we are, we're getting intrinsic satisfaction from our work. Yes? We don't even care if we're being paid. I mean, we may need to be paid because we have to pay the mortgage, but we're not working to be paid. We're just naturally loving what we do. Doing that kind of work for the satisfaction of Krishna is very easy. We have a natural detachment. If I'm doing somebody else's work, I don't have that. And therefore, I become dependent on the externals. How are people treating me? How much am I getting paid? What's the working going to do? And then working in a detached way is almost impossible. And I'm always in fear that the externals are going to be troublesome. You follow? All right. Another thing to keep in mind is that our scriptures primarily describe these four fields in terms of people who have dharmic expertise in that field. But when we're trying to figure out what is our natural field, we're not already expert. And therefore, what we want to look at is our proclivities. Right? We don't start off being Usain Bolt, you know? We start off just taking a step. So in trying to understand what is my field, we're looking at this, not this. Okay, so if we're looking, especially someone who's, you know, if you're young and you don't like, what am I going to do? Or you're older and you're like, I don't think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. What should I be doing? Don't look at the dharmic experts in the field and compare yourself to them and see, am I like that? Look at the proclivity. All right, we've gone through principle 1 in that first area of matching my nature to my prosperity type and career field. Now we're going to look at principle 2, advancing through life while nourishing our nature. Well, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that we cannot repress our nature, my dear friends. We cannot repress our nature. People also ask this, you know, can I change my nature? No. Maybe like Vishwamrita, but it took him 60,000 years. So that's not really practical. Figure you can't change your nature. Figure whatever. And how did we get that nature? I don't know. Ask God. I really don't. I really don't know. Are we just born with it genetically? Is it how our parents raised us? Is it some combination of that from previous lives? I don't know. But we have some sort of nature that we cannot repress. So in this principle 2, nourishing our nature while going through the life cycle, we need to find people who can help us identify our nature. Now, in the older traditional societies, the parents, the guru, by the time a person was 12, 13, and the empirical research shows that by 13, people's nature is definitely identifiable. I've often noticed by 3 or 4 years old, you can often identify someone's nature, but definitely by 13. What kind of prosperity type do they want, and what kind of field are they in? Now, something to think about very carefully, because our nature cannot be repressed. When we just have the inclination and not the expertise, we may act in our nature in a way that disturbs ourselves and others because we don't know how to do it right. The budding artist who draws on the walls, right? Or there's this guy, he has some YouTube videos, how when he was in school, he was always getting into trouble because he was always doing this in his classes. And he was always getting sent to the principal's office and blah, blah, you know. And when he was about 10, one of his teachers said, I need to see you after school. And he's like, oh, no, I'm in trouble again. And his teacher gave him a set of drumsticks. Says, darn, he became a very famous drummer. John Audubon, he used to get in trouble for staring out the window at the birds. Some years ago, I was giving a class, and there were a lot of little children in the class, like age probably 3 to 6. And there was this one little girl, age 3 or 4, and she was directing all the other kids during my whole class. telling them where to go, what to do. So at the end of the class, I said, whose child is this? They were kind of like, okay. I said, your daughter is a natural leader. And they said, oh, we're always telling her to stop being so bossy. And then I asked them, what do you do? And each of these people, guess what they were doing? They were, both the husband and wife were big leaders in their fields. And they thought their daughter was too bossy. Guess what I used to get in trouble for when I was a kid? Not just talking, but let's be a little bit more specific. Teaching. I used to get into trouble for teaching. So when I was 3 years old in preschool, my parents told me that the teachers had complained. They said, your daughter doesn't play with the other kids. Who do you think I was teaching, by the way? No, I was not teaching the kids. Who do you think I was teaching? The teachers. I was going to the teachers and telling them how to teach the kids. That's become my career, folks. I wrote a 500-page book on how to teach kids. But I grew up with my parents telling me, stop teaching. You're teaching again. Stop it. I thought it was wrong. I thought it was bad. It wasn't until I was 24 that I met my good friend Jyotir Mai, and she taught me how to teach. And she gave me a love for teaching, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm a teacher. So just keep in mind that our propensities may be something that annoy others because we haven't learned how to do it dharmically. Now, the Shastras also teach us that we cultivate our career in a natural cycle of life. That first we're students and we learn what is our propensity. We're trained in our propensity. Then in the prime of life, when we have a family, we actually work in our career. Then in midlife, we retire from our career and we can guide others. And at the end of life, we have nothing whatsoever to do with career and we prepare for our final journey. So working in our career is really done just in one phase of our lives. All right, now we have some understanding of I'm connecting my prosperity type and career field to my nature. I've got my basic dharma. Now I'm ready to move out a little bit and find satisfaction and purpose in my work. Because I might have work that totally suits my nature, but maybe it isn't very satisfying or purposeful in what it's doing. So now we're going to look at principle 3, extending our prosperity to others. So the Sanskrit word for a kind of wealth is bhaga, which comes from the word bhaj, means to divide or share. One of the teachers in our line, Bhaktivinoda, he wrote, because I wanted to earn money, therefore I married. And I thought, we think because I'm married, therefore I have to earn money. And I've really thought about this a lot. In ancient societies, there wasn't really a culture of people just earning money and keeping it themselves and living some high single life. At least you should share your wealth with a spouse. At least one other person in your life that you're sharing your wealth with. Or your spouse and children. Or the scriptures talk about you should feed the animals and insects and lizards around your house. Yes? Share your wealth with somebody. Don't just earn wealth and spend it all on yourself. Imagine if Christmas, instead of buying gifts for others, everybody used that same money and bought gifts for themselves. Do you think it would be a big moneymaker for all the retail outlets? Took that, whatever it was, $1,500, $2,000, whatever people spend at Christmas. Buy yourself what you want. Would it work? But just you could buy actually what you want. Right? I mean, you never know when other people gives you gifts. It's like, oh, thank you. So why is it all about giving gifts? Because we get much more pleasure giving gifts to others than buying things for ourselves. I mean, I like buying something for myself that I want, but I enjoy much more buying something for someone else that they want. It's much more pleasurable to share. We will not find satisfaction in our work if we keep everything for ourselves. Now, by the way, dana is different from yajna. Giving to Krishna is not dana, unless you don't know it's Krishna, unless you think he's someone else. If Krishna comes in disguise and you don't know who he is and you give charity to him, that's dana. But if you know it's Krishna, it's not dana, it's yajna. So like when you offer your food to Krishna, that's yajna. When you take that food and distribute it to people, that's dana. You follow? Yes? And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter that you may be a highly exalted soul, but you still have to do dana. You still have to do charity. Am I correct? He says, yes, yajna, dana, tapas. No matter how elevated you are, you need to do those. All right, now we talked about how wealth wasn't just cash. We're enjoying some of these 6 types of prosperity from our work. We want to give those in charity. Now, in our book, we go into much more depth. This is a little indication. If I'm getting gyan from my work, I share gyan. If I'm getting vairagya, I share vairagya. If I'm getting shri, I share shri with others. Whatever type of prosperity I'm getting from my work, I share that type of prosperity with others. Again, this is just a little snippet that I could fit on one slide, but we have like paragraphs for each of us of how we could share them. And I'm sure there's many other ways we haven't thought of. All right, so that's principle 3 as far as making our work meaningful and satisfying is share our prosperity. Principle 4 in making our work satisfying and purposeful is do ethical and meaningful work of value. I mean, after all, we might have something that fits our nature and we're sharing our prosperity, but what we're doing is not so honest or not so valuable. Now, honest work means that we're charging a fair price. If we're employing people, we're paying them fairly. There should be fair, honest dealings. We're representing our product or service honestly. Now, I would say in 2023, doing absolutely honest work is probably impossible. If you have a phone, guaranteed, some poor kid in Africa is being exploited for those rare minerals. Yes? All right, you bought your $5 t-shirt. There's somebody in China making that shirt without health care. I don't believe that it's very possible for most of us in 2023 to do absolutely 100% honest work. But as far as possible, that there should be fair dealings with people that work under us, with our customers that we're working with, anybody that we're working with, it should be fair and honest. And then the work should actually be valuable. People should need what we're giving them. It should enrich them. We shouldn't be having work for manufactured needs. Right? There's so many products and services sold today that nobody needs and everybody would be just fine without them. In fact, people would probably be happier without them. Right? So it should be we should be producing something that people actually need and that actually adds value to their life. And the flip side is not to produce something that's harmful. If we're producing, cigarettes, alcohol, so forth, then that's not only not adding value, it's adding unvalue. It's taking away value. It's hurting people. So honest, ethical work of value. Now, this also relates to what Rukmini and I call getting out of the cycle of frustration. That most people, if they're doing honest and ethical work, which would be dharma, they're doing it to get artha, which is prosperity, so they can have kama, so they can have pleasure. And then after a while, that gets frustrating, so they want moksha or liberation. And after a while, they're not happy with liberation, and they go back to trying to do honest, ethical work so that they can get prosperity, so that they can have pleasures, and it keeps going on and on. So we want to jump out of this to what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Prema Pumartha Mahan, and we should work for love. We should work for love for the Supreme. love for all living entities. What should be motivating us should be love. And that is the highest level of having ethical work of value. And we have a whole chapter on this, which I don't have time to discuss it all today, but it's my favorite part of the whole book. We write in the book that it's an optional chapter, but it's my favorite. All right, now here on this level of doing work that is satisfying and meaningful, we're going to go a little deeper than we went in the beginning. In the beginning, we just said, don't do someone else's work. But now we're going to talk about work that's purposeful and meaningful, and we're going to say, why don't you do someone else's work in a little bit more detail? Now, in our book and in the full course, we go into this with every possible bad combination. Like if you have the nature of government and you work in ideas, you have the nature of government, you work in resources, you have the nature of government, you work in artistry, you have the nature of artistry, you work in resources, etc. We look at every possible bad combination. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to do, this is again, surface, right? Yes, surface. Let's just look at the cross between government and resources. Somebody with the nature of government working in resources, someone with the nature of resources working in government. Now, remember, government people, they collect and redistribute wealth. Resources people generate wealth. Remember, they're the only ones doing that. People who have the nature of resources are going to think work in government is too generous. And people who have the nature of government trying to work in resources are going to think it's too profit-minded. If someone with the nature of government works in resources, they will destroy the business because they'll use all the profits for some social purpose. People who have the nature of resources, they work in government, they will corrupt government and use it for profit. Let's look at the cross between government and ideas. Now, both people with the nature of government and ideas, they're both interested in long-range thinking and whole systems. However, people in the field of government are interested in practical knowledge. Everything has to have immediate practical results. So someone with the nature of government working in ideas may not want to work in pure mathematics and produce a publication that's only seen by other mathematicians and not understood by anyone. They're going to think, what's the point of that? And somebody with the nature of ideas working in government is going to feel rushed and pressured to make hasty decisions without being able to do the proper research. And there's other things as well. People and ideas tend to be very detached. And if they work in government, they're not going to be into national pride, which is necessary if you're running a government. Right? All right, let's look at crossing ideas and resources. Now, there's a completely different system of ethics in each of these fields. Someone with the nature of ideas, they're going to think resources is materialistic. And somebody with the nature of the field of resources is going to think that people in the field of ideas are cheating by spending time and money on something that's not generating any money for society. Like, why would you do a bunch of research on something that isn't making money? And so they won't do it. And people who have the nature of the field of ideas work in resources, they'll just give everything away. And again, everything will fail. It won't be sustainable. It won't be regenerative. Crossing government and artistry. People in government, like those in resources, want to expand. In resources, they want to expand wealth. In government, they want to expand care. In artistry, people are very self-satisfied. If they can have a home, and they have a job that they like, and they have some craft they're doing, and they have a nice romantic partner, and they have something to eat, they're happy. They don't really want to expand and take care of everybody. If people with the nature of artistry go into the field of government, they're very subject to being corrupted by being offered comforts. And they're not really going to be interested. Why do I want to take care of all these people? And with people in the field of government going into the field of artistry, they're not going to be satisfied with that kind of a simplicity of life. Crossing ideas and artistry. This is the cross that the scriptures say that even if there's an absolute emergency, you never make this cross. This is the one cross that is absolutely forbidden, even in a temporary emergency. Now, both people in the field of artistry and people in the field of ideas are very self-satisfied. But the reason for their self-satisfaction is completely different. As we said, people who have the nature of the field of artistry, if they have some craft that they love and good food to eat and a comfortable house and a loving partner, they're happy. They're happy with creature comforts. People in the field of ideas, they're happy if they have mental and intellectual stimulation. People in the field of ideas don't even notice whether or not they have creature comforts. And people in the field of ideas, they're supposed to be giving truth and wisdom to society. Truth and wisdom, my dear friends, is sometimes bitter. It is sometimes opposed to pleasures of life. But the job of the people in artistry is to provide all the pleasures in life. And do we want pleasures in life, folks? Yes? Do you like a dry world? The field of artistry is full of rasa. And the field of ideas is dry, my dear friends. The field of ideas is the eyes of society, the vision of society, and the field of artistry are the spices of society. What happens if you put the spices in your eyes? No good. All right. Crossing resources and artistry. Resources people want to expand. They want profit. They want to feed more and more and more people and clothe more and more people and make the world wealthier and wealthier. People in artistry, they're concerned about the quality of their craft. And they're concerned about, again, simple pleasures and immediate pleasure. They're not going to work really, really hard for some big, expansive thing. So if people with the nature of the field of resources work in the field of artistry, they automate it. They make it into a factory. They destroy the craft. When people of the nature of the field of artistry go into the field of resources, they're not thinking about sustainable regenerative wealth. They're thinking about being happy today. And so they don't really pay attention as to whether or not their enterprise is polluting the planet. All right. Now we're going on to the next level. We've matched our basic prosperity type, our basic field. We've nourished our nature through the life cycle. Then we've expanded a little bit more. We're sharing our prosperity, doing ethical work, doing work that's satisfying, purposeful. Now we're going to progress towards dharmic mastery in our work. And here we have 3 principles. Principle 5, to delight in cherishing our prosperity and field of work. All 6 types of prosperity are coming from the wife of God, Lakshmi Devi, or Srimati Radharani. Cherishing our prosperity type means that we use that type in the service of the Lord, instead of using it for ourselves, which puts us under Durga. We cherish these gifts. Not cherishing means cutting off the head of the goose who laid the golden egg, or cutting off the tree limb that's bearing you fruit. Cherishing our prosperity type in our field of work means taking care of our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, taking care of the people that work with us, that work under us, not burning them out, making sure they have care of their physical health, their mental health, their spiritual health. Means doing work that takes care of the planet, the earth, the sea, the sky. Let's look at our prosperity types. This is some ways of cherishing our prosperity types. Again, this is a little snippet. We have a much bigger section in the book. Like, let's say I'm enjoying vairagya. I make sure that I keep sacrificing for others. Let's say I'm enjoying Shri. I don't use my beauty for personal gain. Let's say I'm enjoying yasha. I don't ask people to defer to me even when I'm wrong. I keep trust and integrity. If I'm enjoying aishvarya, I help others to become leaders. I make others feel smart and competent. So I make sure that I cherish, I take care of the kind of prosperity that I'm enjoying. And then I cherish my field. This is a huge problem in modern society, that people are not cherishing their field of work. In artistry, you keep high quality in your craft. You treat customers and clients with respect. You keep your prices honest. In resources, you treat the plants, the animals with loving kindness and respect. You take care of the land, the water, the air. You treat employees with fairness and respect. You have all your financial dealings honest. In government, you put serving people at the top. By the way, that's another difference between government and resources. In resources, you have to put projects over people, and in government, you have to put people over projects. In government, you put serving people as topmost. You sacrifice your personal interests for the greater good. Think about the firefighter who runs into the fire. Everybody else is running out. It's an essential point of the field of government. Take care of everyone's needs. Don't have special interests. Do we have a big problem with this in government today? Have equality of justice, collecting wealth fairly and not using it for personal gain. And this is, again, not everything. It's just a little bit of it. In ideas, dedication to truth applied for people's benefit, being neutral and impartial and objective, not letting other people control you financially, which may push you to skew the truth. Respecting others who have training and expertise in their own area of knowledge. Again, this is just a little bit of how one needs to cherish one's field to keep the field pure. All right, principle 6 of Dharmic mastery is having celebrations of the sacred in our life and in our work. So in Bhagavad Gita 3:16, Krishna says, Evam pavaritam chakram. And Srila Prabhupada talks about this circle, this chakra. He says circle means moving. So in nature, plants take from nature and give back to nature. Animals take from nature, give back to nature. We human beings often take and don't give back. Yes? So this evam pravaritam chakrang means I give back. So this is different from dana. This is different from charity. Charity, I'm sharing with others. This is yajna. I'm giving back to my source. Now, whatever religion one may be, whatever genuine spiritual path, the point is to have regular ceremonies of giving back to the Lord. I mean, there isn't that much difference between these ceremonies in different religions, right? People say some prayers, they read from sacred books, they light some kind of lamp. Yes? Celebrate holidays, go to holy places. I mean, the essential things are not that different. And we should come to the point that every single thing we do is a ceremony of connection, Bhagavad Gita 4:24. But at least we want to have times when we're having a ceremony. It can be once a week or every day or several times a day where we stop what we're doing and do some ceremony of connection to remember to give back. To remember that everything I'm getting, I've gotten from a source outside of myself, and I should give back. And I should do this in some kind of proper ceremony. But again, we want to get to the point that every act that we do, every word, everything is that connection. Then the last principle in this section, principle 7, progressing to Dharmic mastery, is to work above the shades of ego. So the Vedic scriptures tell us that there are 3 kinds and levels of being overcome by ego. You can think of tamas is like you have a dark shade over the window. Rajas is like you have a sheer shade. And sattva, it's just a window. These are all ways of being selfish. Tamas is, yeah, I'm a really good person. I take care of my family, I take care of what they need. I'm not ambitious. I try to do a good job in my work. Don't cross me or my family. I will insult you, and I'm good at it. You know, look. I'll eat healthy food. Sure. I mean, if the Impossible Burger is the same price as a regular burger, yeah. But if it's more, yeah. If it's easy, I'll be good if it's easy. I'm not into it's hard work stuff. That's Thomas. Rajas. I am good. I work hard. I sacrifice. I have built this and this and this and this and this. See what I built. See how noble I am. I am righteous. I am religious. I am honest. I am forgiving. I am kind. My statue should be in the park and my name in history books. I have built all of society. Note my sacrifices. I'll list them for you if you like. And everything I have through my hard work. And sattva is, I am good. I am very spiritual. I am equipoised. I am in harmony. I'm forgiving because it feels so good inside to be forgiving. And I'm not like these other materialistic people in the world running around trying to do things. I'm just happy with my little organic garden and my crystals on the shelf. So these are the three different types of ego, and you'll notice that they're all about me and how great I am in different flavors. So these can be considered the dark side of our work. Now, in each of the fields, there's going to be a tendency to pull from certain shades. But these shades are stumbling blocks to dharmic mastery. Now, we give a couple of examples from the Gita. This is from Gita 17:20-22, where Krishna describes how we can give charity in the shades. If we're giving charity in tamas, maybe we're giving to a worthy person where we're like, here, take your charity. Or we're giving to an unworthy person. We're giving to some alcoholic to buy liquor. In Rajas, we're giving to good people, but we're saying, all right, I'm giving you this now, and remember that I gave this to you because I'm going to expect something back later. Or I'm giving because my boss told me to give. I don't want to give. I wish I didn't have to give. Why am I giving something? Oh, I shouldn't have given that. No, I have enough in my bank account. And in sattva, I'm giving because it's the right thing to do because I'm in harmony. I'm in harmony with everything, and so I give. So that's sattva. So one above the shades of ego, you give because it's the right thing to do, but to please Krishna, because Krishna wants me to give. It'll make him happy. What about the shades at work? In tamas, morose, procrastinating, insulting, lazy. Prabhupada says it takes you a year to do what you could do in an hour. Right? In rajas, happy when everything goes great, sad when everything goes bad. Right? Aggressive, envious, impure, only determined when it looks like I'm going to get a good result. In sattva, always determined. Things go well, things go poorly, always determined. Not identifying with the work. How do we get above the shades in our work? Here we turn to Bhagavad Gita 3:30, where Krishna gives 3 do's and 3 do nots as to how to go above the shades of ego in our work. The do nots. Don't try to enjoy those 6 types of prosperity on a merchant platform. Don't think you're the owner of your work or your prosperity. Don't be lazy or lethargic. The 3 do's. Dedicate our work to the ultimate source, to Krishna. Always remember that I'm a soul. I'm not this body. I'm not this mind. And interestingly enough, to work according to our nature, to be the best form of ourself. And this is how we get above the shades of ego. All right. We've gone from connecting my nature with my prosperity type in fields of work. We've gone to making our work successful and meaningful. And then we've gone to progress toward dharmic mastery. Now we're going to look at the whole system. Here we have 2 principles. Principle 8, maintaining societal balance, cooperation between the fields, and competition within the fields. So cooperation, people and ideas train and guide. People in government approves licensing and accreditation. They may also provide venues and facilities for different kinds of work. People in resources organize, direct, and distribute the flow of money, materials, energy, and other resources. And people in artistry help everybody else. In this way, there's cooperation between the fields. The members of the fields also provide a check and balance for the other fields. People in ideas hold government to the rule of law. People in government regulate through law. People in resources regulate through the flow of money, and people in artistry regulate through their numbers. People in artistry also regulate because they often take concepts from people in ideas, government, and resources and turn them into music, art, and other media. And without cooperation from people in the field of artistry, people in the field of ideas, government, and resources may have a hard time getting their message out to the public. All right, let's look at competition. Competition is only within a field. Srila Prabhupada said competition gives life. In theory, doing our best is always worthwhile for its own sake, but in practice, when we have an opponent, it encourages us to do our best. It focuses our mind. It invigorates our efforts. When we see others do great things, that reminds us of our own potential, and it inspires us to look at the edges of our own ability. Now, competition shouldn't be nasty. We shouldn't be trying to, destroy the other person or be a predator on the other person. But think about, the jewelry district. All these jewelry stores, you go to one place and the competition benefits everyone. Or the fashion district, the competition there benefits everyone. Competition in artistry leads to so many inventions that have improved our lives. Classic masterpieces of art, architecture, and music, higher quality of trade and craft. Competition in resources has allowed us to take care of the needs of nearly 8 billion people. Effective and efficient ways of transporting supplies all over the world. Competition in government. The fact that we have two parties and they're competing helps improve the services of government. Competition between kinds of government, whether you have a parliamentary democracy or direct democracy or socialistic country. It lets people experiment with different kinds of government and find what works best. And competition within ideas, various philosophies, improvements in the purity of religion, improvements in the adaptation of religion to time, place, and circumstances. And our last principle on the whole system, all-inclusive, sustainable prosperity. My dear friends, any of you who've studied economics know that modern economics historically has been intentionally divorced from the land. Intentionally. Economic leaders made an intentional historical decision to divorce economics from the land. And the modern economists teach unlimited, expansive growth, correct? Can we have unlimited, expansive growth on a finite planet? Impossible. What happens when you say that we have to have constant growth on a finite planet? You have a country with 5% of the world's population hogging 50% of the world's resources. I wonder what country that is. We're very popular because of this, I'll tell you. Even in other Western countries, we're quite popular. Everybody loves us for this. That's the natural result of trying to teach that growth can go on exponentially on a finite planet. We need to have overall economic models that have sustainable prosperity for everyone, all-inclusive sustainable prosperity. And that is the final principle of career dharma. So again, we looked at identifying our ideal career field and prosperity type, the most essential feature, then learning the secrets of making our work deeply meaningful, progressive towards dharmic mastery, and looking at the whole system with these 9 principles. connecting our nature with our livelihood, advancing through life while nourishing our nature, extending our prosperity to others, having ethical and meaningful work of value, delight in cherishing our prosperity and field of work, having celebrations of the sacred in our life and work, being above the shades of ego, maintaining societal balance, cooperation between the fields and competition within the fields, and all-inclusive sustainable prosperity. Again, if you want more information, please sign up for our mailing list. We will let you know when our book is ready. It will be print, ebook, and audiobook. And when our more developed courses are ready, it is now 6 o'clock, which is when we're supposed to end. So should I take questions or what should I do? Managers, leaders, what should I do? Okay, a question or two? Yes. Any of them. No, that's cooperation between the fields. So that's principle 8, is that there's cooperation between the fields. But if you have the nature of resources, work in resources. Don't work in artistry. Thank you for clarifying that. If you have the nature of resources, don't work in government. But if you have the nature of resources and you're working in resources, you're going to cooperate with people in artistry. You're going to cooperate with people in government. All the 4 fields should cooperate with each other. Again, that's principle 8. Absolutely not, because they're diametrically opposed. You'd have a multiple personality disorder. Like, seriously. Probably. But that depends. Like, let's say that you're working in government and you're managing the school systems. Then you're not in ideas, you're in government. You follow? Let's say that you're a professor of business. You're not in resources, you're in ideas. Now that's you're going beyond what I want to do right now. Then you're talking about working with that's, if we're going to work with an individual, that's beyond the scope of what I'm doing today. But let's just talk about big things. They're probably in artistry, because artistry assists all the fields. So there are people in artistry that particularly want to assist people in ideas. People in artistry who particularly want to assist people in government. People in artistry who particularly want to assist people in resources. So usually when people think they're in 2 fields, they're in artistry and they want to help that field. So that's the most common reason that people think they're in 2 fields. Like, let's say you want to add beauty and support to society. That's the main thing you want to do, but you're also interested in justice and ethics and morals. You have a really strong interest in that. So you might be an assistant in a law office, or you might be assistant in a legislature's office, where you're providing some sort of support facility, and you're not doing the business of government, but you're helping someone in government. So that's usually the situation when people think they're in 2 fields. The other possible type situation is, again, let's say you're in ideas and you're acting as an advisor to government, or you're in ideas acting as advisor to resources, or you're in government managing an area of resources, or you're in government managing an area of ideas. So it can also happen that way. That's the other way that it might look like a person is in 2 fields. Yes. In our book, we're still, God, yesterday we found a mistake in sentence 1 of a chapter. Like, how did our editors and proofreaders, has been through like 10 edits. Yes. So in our book, we have at the end, we have some exercises to do. First of all, to help you identify prosperity types, to identify fields, and then to look at yourself. Now, what we're hoping to do in our course is we're also hoping to do one-on-one coaching. So the plan is that I'm going to do the course and Rukmini's going to do the coaching. That's the plan that we're working on. But yes, everybody asked that question. Yes. I mean, one difficulty with finding an absolute instrument for that, Rukmini and I are both scientists. She's a hard scientist, I'm a soft scientist. And we know very well that if you're going to come up with an instrument like that, it's got to be valid and reliable. That's not the kind of thing that you're going to have overnight. It requires a tremendous amount of development and testing. And so we very much resisted coming up with something that wasn't necessarily valid and reliable just to say that we had something. But we do have exercises in the back, in the end of the book, right? You've gone through them. So we have exercises in the end of the book that really helps clarify this. Keep in mind also that this was a superficial run through. So if you go to my YouTube channel, and there I have 4 classes that are more in-depth. I have one in-depth class on prosperity type, one in-depth class on just defining the fields, one in-depth class on defining the propensity and expertise in the field, and then one in-depth class in defining what happens when you cross into the wrong field. And what I've seen is that usually when people have gone through those 4, most of the time people are quite clear without having to do anything additionally. And if people have to do anything additionally, then we usually work with them one-on-one, and we ask them some questions, okay, what kind of things do you like? What have you done? What kind of things have you worked in, and things like that. Yes? Well, you shouldn't cross any of them, but that one, even in an emergency, should not be crossed. It puts spices in the eyes of society. If people who are suited for artistry go into the field of ideas, they will put spices in the eyes of society. If people suited for the field of ideas go into artistry, they will dry up all the pleasures in society. Either way, you're going to do extreme damage. It's also damaging for the individual. All these crossings, anytime you cross into another field, you severely damage yourself, and you also really create havoc in society. Because we can't repress our nature. So what a person will do is they're going to bring their own ethics and their own dharma into a place where that dharma is a problem. Do you follow? It just, like, let's take a personality type, which isn't the field. Let's just take a person, like there's people who are particularly cautious and people who are particularly risk-taking. Okay, so who do you want to run the temple accounting? Your cautious people or your risk-taking people? Right? And who do you want to go preach in Saudi Arabia or North Korea? And if you put the risk-taking person in charge of the accounts, or you put the cautious person in North Korea, you're going to cause a great distress to that person, and you're going to mess up the system. So crossing the fields is something like that. We have a particular dharma, a particular set of values that in our own field is glorious. When we take our particular innate dharma and ethics and try to use it in another field, we become conflicted and unhappy. And we cause some sort of disturbance in that field because we're doing something that doesn't suit that field. It's not what that field is supposed to do. Like if you took cells out of your brain and stuck them in your lungs. It's exactly like that, You took heart muscle and put it in your stomach. It doesn't belong there. It can't do its function. And it may even mess up the functioning of the organ into which you. Is that all right? All right, and you are giving me a very clear notice here that I am to stop. No, you're not. I'm not. It was just it's interesting. He comes up and squats down here and looks at his phone, and it's like very, very clear communication. It's really funny you say that. No, it's fine. It's really funny you say that. I was in Australia once, and I was 10 minutes into the class, and this lady comes in, and she starts very loudly, "Move up, move over there. You sit over." I had to stop talking completely. I'm just, "Are you done?" After she was done, I said, "Do you have, what do you do? Do you work in management?" She's like, "No." I said, "Go get a job in management, please." Thank you very much for this opportunity. Hare Krishna. So anything good and worthwhile that you found today is all due to Srila Prabhupada. Any problems or mistakes were all mine. Please take the good and please ignore the mistakes. Thank you. Jai.
What an inspirational class by Mother Urmila on the career dharma. Let's give her a loud Haribol! Haribol! Of course, what she touched on today is probably an inch of the tip of the iceberg. Something like that. There's much more depth to what we have to read and discover and understand. There's a book that Mother talked about. We are so eagerly looking forward. It's such an inspirational class. When we are looking at that, it's a natural tendency. When she's pointing out, here are the principles, the different, And so the natural thing is, okay, where do I fit in? Okay, but I have a little bit of that and I have a little bit of that. Okay, do I mean I cross over? But she said, don't cross over. So now you have all those questions going on in your mind and you're trying to figure out an answer for yourself. You're not alone. We are all going through a similar questioning in our minds. There's so much more information. And Mother, would you be available later on during Prasadam if somebody might want to have a conversation? So again, such an inspirational class. Wonderful, wonderful, I should say the showcase of the Krishna conscious principles and how it would apply to our careers. Let's again give her a big, big round of Haribol. So we have one of the important festivals of our year coming up next week on Thursday. Not this Thursday, next week, Thursday, on May 4th. Mark your calendars. It's a Thursday, it's May 4th. And it is the appearance day of the very merciful Lord Nrsimhadev. Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki! So it's a very, very special festival for us. He's our Lord of protection. He protects our bhakti. He protects our devotion. And we are going to celebrate on Thursday, May 4th. The program starts at 4:30. And we have a very, very special guest speaker. He's coming in all the way from Florida. His Grace Dhruva Das Prabhu. He's coming in. His whole life is devoted for the worship of Lord Nrsimhadev. He's coming here to help and to enlighten us on the glories of Lord Nrsimhadev. And not only that, as if that weren't enough, he is going to perform a Mahayagya. He's going to perform right here. He's going to perform a Mahayagya for Lord Nrsimhadev. And that is on Thursday, May 4th. So the program starts at 4:30, and then at 5 o'clock we have the class. At 6 o'clock he's going to perform the Mahayagya. We're going to do the Sandhya Arati at 7:15, and then opulent Prasadam feast is at 7:40. That's going to be our program for Thursday, May 4th, appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadev. You cannot miss it. It is one of those days. I know many devotees are actually taking the day off to actually help prepare for the festival and participate in the festival. It's such a wonderful thing. We have many sponsorship opportunities available. So please consider sponsoring. We have new DD outfit. So the DDs are going to get new outfit on that day. Take a look at Shri Shri Radha Golokananda. Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki! So they're going to get a new outfit. You can sponsor that outfit for only $301. Haribol! You could sponsor the entire feast. We have a whole team who's coming together to prepare the feast. It's going to be an opulent feast, a lot of various items, sweets, and so forth. You can sponsor the entire feast for only $301. Haribol! Flowers. Our deities are going to be decorated with so many wonderful flowers and garlands. You can sponsor the flowers and garlands for $251. Haribol! I talked about the Mahayagya that's going to be done. You can sponsor the Mahayagya for $151. Haribol! And then we have we have Aratik, and that is for $108. You can sponsor the Aratik for $108. Haribol! If you would like to sponsor one or more of these, or perhaps all of this, please feel free to contact myself or Aditya Narayan Prabhu all the way in the back, and we'll be very, very happy to help you. So, couple of other things. This is the festival for next Thursday. Couple of other things. We have a birthday blessing seva. Sorry, Prabhuji. Yeah. We have a birthday blessing seva, wherein we look at the devotees whose birthday actually falls in this week. And we have this week 4 devotees whose actually falls this week. So we have their names printed on a sheet like this. There is a copy of this sheet on the altar, and our priest, His Grace Satyavat Prabhu, he actually prays for these devotees. He prays to Lord Nrsimhadev for their protection. He prays to Panchatattva for their devotion. And he prays to Sri Sri Radha Golokananda for the overall spiritual welfare. And so this week, we are celebrating the birthdays of Jayant Krishna, Jatin Rama, Aparna Sila, and Tiko Raj. Are any of them here? On the day of their birthday, they will be getting a text message and an email, a detailed email, with the blessings of Sri Sri Radha Golokananda. So let's all chant for these 4 wonderful devotees whose birthday falls this week. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. We have one more devotee. He had come in a couple of days ago. Sujata? Sujata. Mother Sujata. Here, can you keep this? Thank you. We have Mother Sujata. She's also celebrating her birthday this week. Let's also chant for her. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And one last announcement is, we have children who play outside, and we are very, very serious about children's safety. So we have a sincere request is for those whose children are playing around, they are free to play in that area behind the Prabhupada Hall. But I would request if somebody can just supervise them. We need to have an adult supervise them. So please do supervise the children. We want to make sure that all our children are having a great time and they're doing it very safely. That's all for the announcements. There's one more? Okay. All right. I guess it's just came through. Let me check. Okay, we have dance and drama for Nrsimhadev. It's on for Nrsimhadev festival. We have dance and drama performance. That's going to be on Sunday, May 7th. And what is the time, Prabhu, for that? It is at 4 p.m. Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. So yes, these dances and dramas are one of those really, really special things that we do on festival days. The dances are led by Her Grace Champaklata Mataji is right there. So Champaklata Mataji and her entire team of dancers, they are like, oh my God, like Gandharvas coming, and they perform such wonderfully on so many different things. And I'm sure there's a great surprise that is in store for all of us. Just can't wait to get to May 7th. And then we also have a drama, and we have His Grace Gopinath Acharya Prabhu, Balram Hari Prabhu as well, who's doing the drama this year for the Lord Nrsimhadev Appearance Day. And there's going to be a wonderful drama, and that's going to be so much more, to look forward to. So thank you very much, Gopinath Prabhu, Balram Prabhu, and Champaklata Mataji. Thank you very much for the dance and drama. Hari Bol. And one final announcement before we actually go down for prasadam. The feast for today is cooked by Sakhi Priya Mataji and her entire team. And so there's going to be a lot of wonderful items. Please make sure that you have a good prasadam all the way to your satisfaction. Thank you all very much. You may all now head downstairs and have prasadam. Hare Krishna.
Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmane Vaishnave Swalpa Punya Vratam Rajan Vishwaso Neva Jayate Sharirar Vidyaja Jadendriya Trahekar जीवे फले विषय सागरे ओ तार मध्ये जिहायति लोभमय सुदुर्मति ताके जेठा कठिन संसारे Krishna bada dayamay kadi bare jihaja swaprasadana dilabhay asayanamritapam Radha Krishna gunagav प्रेमे राख श्री चैतन्य नीताय बोलो जैनी माय जय नीताय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhagavad Mahaprasad ki jai, Shri Radha Goloka ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.